Have you ever wondered what the difference is between a technically correct image that's nice and then an image that stops you in your tracks? It draws you in, it gets you excited, and it makes you feel something. Well, oftentimes when we're beginning as photographers, we learn about how to take those safe images that are technically correct, that have nice lighting, that have sharp and in focus images. But then we start to feel that yearning for something more, for being able to elevate our photography and bring in that mood and feeling and go beyond the nice imagery to the photos that make you say, wow. Now, in this video, I want to share with you 3 things that you can do as a photographer and that I think are really important in those next steps to elevate your work and to become a more confident photographer, and so that you can bring mood and feeling and intensity into your photography. Okay, so the first one is shooting with intention. Now, as a photography teacher, you might have heard me say that it's really important to shoot with purpose and to clear the clutter and see beyond the frame. So this is taking it to that next level and understanding that in any piece of art or photography that gets you excited and makes you feel something, there has been intention and thought behind every element that comes into the frame. We can control the time of day. We can seek out the type of light we're shooting. We can think about, with intention, where to place our subject in the frame, the compositional techniques that will draw our eye to that subject. Okay, so here's what you can do to practice shooting with intention. The first one is pre-visualization, and this can be a planning process that you put some effort into or that happens momentarily before you shoot the scene. But instead of picking up the camera and just taking a photo, we're spending some moments to pre-visualize what we want our image to look like. What do we want to convey? What are the stories we're wanting to tell? And we're spending that time to think, even if it is momentarily, what are some choices that we can make to elevate this photo? And the more you do this and the more that you spend time as a photographer analyzing your own work, thinking about these different techniques we can use, and also looking at photography that inspires us and learning how to reverse engineer and bring those elements we love into our own work will absolutely strengthen your skills as a photographer. Now, the next one is composition. Where and how are we placing our subject in the frame? And where do we want our viewer eye to go in the image? Again, this can be something that we can think about, or it can happen in the moment as we see our subject as they walk between framing, or we identify strong leading lines. Being purposeful and using these elements with intention is absolutely one of the secrets to being able to really elevate photography to the next level. And then the next one is being really purposeful and intentional with our camera settings. Now, it is important to understand that there's never one correct exposure. When it comes to the ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, there are lots of different combinations that we can use. And so it's about understanding what is the creative exposure that best suits the image and that we're being intentional with to create a beautiful image and to have that creative impact beyond the safe shot. Okay, which leads me to the next technique that you can use to really elevate your work, and that is being a creative risk taker. Now, I said before, as a beginner photographer, you were probably taught the rules to stay within to create that nice shot, to use soft light, to balance your composition and use the rule of thirds. Now, all of those can be really great. They can be beautiful techniques, but there are so many other techniques we can use. And so being a creative risk taker means starting to think about different ways that you can compose and shoot your images. So one of them is thinking about your angles and your perspectives. So many times we shoot from the perspective of eye height, but we can get down low. We can use different focal lengths that impact how we see the subject. We can move around a subject. And so playing with different perspectives and angles, shooting through objects totally changes the mood and the feeling and the way that the viewer observes your subject. So being able to take control of that as a photographer is a really powerful skill. The next one is to play with different light. Now, it can be a little scary to step beyond safe light and start to play with dynamic lighting and backlighting and feeling comfortable using those different lighting techniques. But often when you look at an image that gets you excited or has some deep feeling, there's usually a very specific lighting technique that's being used for that subject. So if you think about really powerful portraits that are someone who has a lot of age or experience in life, and they're looking at the camera with a level of intensity, that intensity is going to be amplified with strong light and shadow, directional lighting techniques. You're going to convey something to the viewer that's so much more powerful than putting that subject into soft light. And the same can be said for so many different scenarios of bringing that beautiful golden flare into backlit images that add that whimsical feel or a nostalgic feel to an image. So again, it is being intentional about the light we use, but being a creative risk taker means that you start to play with those different lighting techniques and see how they impact your images. And then the other thing with being able to take creative risks is building up your confidence to do so and allowing yourself to experiment with different techniques of being comfortable with taking images that fail, because that's where the opportunity for growth comes. And so I think it's really important as a photographer that you're okay with the playing and the experimenting and the failing in order to build your skills and your confidence so that you can grow. And then finally, the element that I think is really key in draws dropping, or I was about to say doors stopping, all of those different analogies, but in taking powerful images is having an emotional connection. And again, as a photographer, there are many ways that you can do this in your image. We talk about engaging and posing and prompting, but a really simple example is to think about if you sit your child somewhere lovely and you want to take a photo and they're not necessarily happy about it, they're just sitting there nonplussed, and you take a photo, sure, you have a portrait. But the minute you start engaging with your child about something that they love, something that they're excited about, something that they, really enjoy talking about, you can already visualize their face lighting up. They're getting excited, they're leaning into you. That's what engaging your subject can do when it comes to bringing that emotional connection into an image, and it can have such a powerful result. The other ways you can do this is to think about using storytelling in your images. Take candid photos, include elements in the frame that add to the story of the image that you're taking, and think about in all the different scenarios. It doesn't matter if it's people or if it's a landscape. Think about the story that you're telling and the emotional connection that you can create between the object, the subject, and the viewer. And again, there's different ways that we can do this with creative and lighting techniques so that you can achieve that wow factor. But really, I do think it comes down to intentionality of thinking about what you're including in the frame, building up a toolkit of creative and lighting techniques, and thinking about color and tone and light and how all of that interplays between your subject and where they're standing and all of those elements that are in the frame, building up your confidence to take risk and to play with different techniques, because often that's where the magic happens. And then remembering that oftentimes an image that has an intense reaction has that emotional connection. It has that spark. It has something in the image that elicits a response from you or captures a beautiful emotion in the image itself. Okay, so all of those things I think are really what makes the difference from photographers that are taking the safe, technically correct images to those that stop you in your tracks. Now, if you are excited about elevating your photography and you'd love support and you'd love hand-holding and you'd love direction to help you get there, then our advanced photography course is going to be running again very soon. Inside the course, not only do we build on those technical skills that I've talked about, the creative and lighting techniques using tone and color, but you are given very specific creative prompts so that you can go out and experiment. Just like I said, take those creative risks, have a space or a container in which you feel safe sharing those images. And the biggest thing, of course, is that inside Click Love Grow courses, and our advanced course is no exception, you get that one-on-one support and feedback from instructors. And we do that within the advanced course in a way that's designed to push you outside your comfort zone so that you can experiment and grow and really elevate your work. We talk about post-processing so that you can enhance and build on your images. And we talk about what your vision is as a photographer. What are the steps you can take to get there? And of course, it's a place where you're encouraged and supported with other students going through the course as well, so that you can really feel confident about building your skills. Okay, so if any of that takes your interest, do check out the advanced photography course. If you're someone who is on your journey and you're looking to step outside your comfort zone, give it a go. Be intentional about your photography. Have a think about some creative risks that you can take, and always remember that emotional connection and storytelling that you can bring into your work. Happy snapping, have fun, and I look forward to seeing your images.